Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? The long weekend always throws me off. I think it is Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the stream. So excited to be spending the afternoon with you guys and just having a great day overall. I'm like all bundled up in my little sweater because although it is like 100 degrees outside in Miami, it is always freezing cold in my apartment, and we just have to bundle up with our little chai tea, our sweater zip-ups. We're pretending like it's fall, okay? Because fall is the most elite season. That's just a scientific fact. Don't at me. And I have a really hard time given that the last several years at this point, I have lived in locations that do not have a true fall or really any seasons whatsoever. I was in Arizona the last 3 years. I've been in Miami now since March. Your girl needs some fall and some winter, and someday we will go back to that. But in the meantime, it's a beautiful, sunny, wonderful day in Miami, Florida, and we're going to have some fun on the stream all together. I seem to have very much upset people in the last few days on Instagram, of all places. I don't know why, but everybody on Instagram is taking their lives way too seriously. So if that's you, or you find yourself falling into a camp of people taking your life way too seriously, let me just say this for you. If I make fun of cats, because cats, I believe, are demons while dogs are angels, of course I am being satirical and it is a joke. It's called humor. It's called comedy. It's called learn to laugh at yourself, cat owners who got really upset by my video exposing cats versus dogs on Instagram this week. And similarly, I made a video that's doing bonkers well on TikTok today, and it's upsetting a lot of people on Instagram today that the most elite men to marry, the ones that care about you and will put you first and serve you and love you, are the nerds. Everybody on TikTok agrees with me on this. TikTok understands what's going on. Instagram is wildly offended that I would rather marry a nerd in their mind than this super buff manly man, which are not mutually exclusive, by the way. Nerds can work out and provide for you physically and protect you physically too. So we're just living in some wild times. And I thought it would be fun today, because everybody is taking their life way too seriously and not having enough fun on social media and on the internet, to do an Ask Me Anything, an open forum Q&A. You guys have been asking for one of these for a very long time, and it's been a while since we've done a Q&A other than our post-stream hangouts over on Locals, but one for everybody. I used to do one of these once a week on Instagram on my stories when I was first starting out with Instagram content creation in 2019, and I carried that through into early 2020. Every single week I would do a Q&A on my Instagram story. Then we started doing Q&As pretty regularly on my live stream and some other stuff throughout the last few months, but it's been a really long time since we've done an Ask Me Anything, and I know you guys have been wanting one for a very long time. So we are going to be having some fun on the stream today. If you guys have absolutely any questions about anything, now is the time to be dropping those questions in our live chat over to the side. We're going to give people a few minutes to drop their questions, but truly nothing is off limits. You can ask about wedding prep, you can ask about corgis, Star Wars, we can talk about religion or politics or anything else under the sun that you guys possibly want to jump into. Today is all about real conversation in real time. Obviously, we are live in real time, so I'm seeing your guys' comments as they come through at 3:12 p.m. on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon, and can't wait to jump right in. As you guys are dropping your questions, we're going to be reacting to a pretty viral story, and let me just say up front, I feel really bad. I should not be laughing at this. It's really not that funny. But it is funny. Like, it's so embarrassing that I think this is so unbelievably funny. And I'm just going to challenge you to be a better person than me and you not laugh at this story, because I am laughing so badly at this story. So we're going to react to that in just a second. And as you guys are starting to drop your questions, want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor of today's stream, Rough Greens. I've talked about them quite a bit over the last few weeks, but want to make sure that you guys have a chance to try out their products. Rough Greens, if you don't already know, is an all-natural human grade supplement to add to your dog's food to improve their overall energy, their joint health, their digestion, and immune function. It kind of works like a protein powder. You just take a little scoop of it and you add it on top of your dog's food to provide 19 plus fruits and vegetables to their diet that isn't already found, especially if your dog is still eating kibble. Definitely time to do some more research into that, by the way. Adding digestive enzymes, probiotics, and omega oils to all of the food that they are eating. Libby is literally obsessed with her rough greens. She loves their dental chews, she loves their treats, and she loves the supplements that we put on her food as well. And you guys know how much I love my dog. I would never tell you to give your dog something unless I was actively using that with my dog and truly believed that it worked. So don't forget, you can go grab your own rough greens at the link that I just dropped in the live chat at tryroughgreens.com, and they are an all natural, made in America, super patriotic business. They are a great group to support. Could not recommend them more. Let's jump into this funny story while you guys are dropping your questions. Then we're going to answer as many as we possibly can today. We can do a longer live stream today because, as you can see, I got my hair done. So yay, that was good. We had a hard out yesterday. And you know what? Now that I look at pictures and videos of myself from the last few weeks, it was really time to get my hair done. So thank you for everyone, largely my mother, for bringing attention to this and making sure that I made the appointment and went. But we can do an extra long, fun hangout live stream and answer as many questions as possible. Okay, so I don't know if you guys saw this story. It is going mega viral, especially on TikTok. And I feel like a really bad person. Like, I probably need to go to confession because of this. I should not be laughing at this story. It's really not funny. And if I was in this situation, I would not want anyone to laugh or millions of people to be making videos about me on social media talking about probably the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to a single human being ever in the history of time. The fact that this person has to live with this for the rest of their life, like, I will actively be praying for this person every day. And I fully challenge you, be a better person than me. Do not laugh at this video, okay? Just don't. It's not, be better than me. Do what I say, not what I do. But there was a story that went super viral on TikTok this week about a plane that was taking off from Atlanta and going to Barcelona, Spain. And the plane ended up having to turn around about 2 hours into the flight. Not that far. They had just gotten over the ocean essentially and had to turn around and fly 2 hours back in the same direction and make an emergency landing in Atlanta, Georgia, because there was a biohazard present on the plane when a passenger had an unfortunate accident, not in the bathroom, just all over the plane. And when I say all over, I mean literally all over. That's all of the preface I'm going to give. And you guys can watch this to figure out for yourselves if I'm a really bad person for laughing at this, okay? Be better than me.
And a passenger had diarrhea all the way through the airplane.
A passenger's horrific bowel movement forced a Delta flight from Atlanta to Barcelona to turn around. In a text message sent to air traffic control.
Yeah, also the pilot is just texting and flying the plane. Texting and driving much? I don't know.
Captain explained there was diarrhea all over the aircraft.
Negative, it's just a biohazard issue. We've had a passenger who had diarrhea all the way through the airplane, so they wanted to come back to Atlanta.
Am I 5 years old? Am I a child? Am I a teenager? This will always be funny to me. I feel so bad for this person. I can't stop.
The passenger said it dribbled down the aisle, and after using vanilla-scented disinfectant, the plane smelt like vanilla poop. They agreed the pilots made the right decision and had to rip out the carpets once they landed.
They had to rip the carpets out? Oh my word. Okay, there's another one though. So you heard what just happened. You prepare yourselves. You heard what just happened. This plane had to turn around 2 hours into the flight over the Atlantic Ocean and come back and land back in Atlanta. Now there's video footage submitted from other passengers on this plane, which, let me just say, if I was a passenger on this plane traveling from Atlanta to Barcelona, I would have immediately turned around and went home. I would not have waited to get on a new plane. They had to get these people on a brand new plane, rip all of the carpets out of the plane because they are not salvageable at this point or safe for human transportation. I would have immediately just turned around and gone home. No trip for me today. Thank you very much. Unsubscribe. But people apparently have submitted video footage now from the plane where they were passengers. And this is the update from that story, okay?
Listen, let's talk about this plane who had to do an emergency landing back to Atlanta en route to Barcelona. I admit, when I first heard it, I thought it was maybe a little ridiculous. Maybe the guy just lit up the bathroom and it stunk. Oh no.
No. This did not just happen in the bathroom.
Oh no. Look at this. This guy shit all over the fucking plane, dude. I mean, there is shit everywhere. Okay? I agree. Emergency land.
I'm such a bad person for laughing at this. I am 5 years old. I am a 12-year-old boy. I'm so evil, you guys. Just pray for my soul. I actually feel so bad for this person too, and I shouldn't think this is funny, but I do.
Okay, I'll be the first one. And look what they did to this guy. I mean, listen, this had to be done.
No.
It had to be done. And this dude who took this video of on the plane, there is no circumstance where your shoes need to come off on a plane, bro.
Immediately no. So not only did that all happen on the same plane, this happens on the same plane. I guess when shit hits the fan, no pun intended, all of these passengers just lose proper adherence to the etiquette of airplane travel instantaneously. Look at this. Other passengers start taking their shoes off on the plane. I don't know if you guys follow Allie Beth Stuckey or listen to her content. She's absolutely phenomenal. She has this thing on her Instagram story where she will go over and over and over again to talk about when she's in airplanes and in airports, that there are certain rules for airports and airplanes that you have to follow in order to be a good human being. And taking your shoes off, particularly taking your shoes and socks off and putting them on top of a chair, on top of your seat in the airplane, this violates every single one of Allie Beth's airplane rules. Follow the rules. It's important for you, okay? Just be a good person.
This is enough for me to want to turn the plane around. No, dude. Put your shoes on. Nobody want to see your nasty feet, bro. Thank you.
Literally no one. Okay, so what's the verdict? Am I a really bad person? I can't. I feel so bad that I'm laughing at this. I know intimately what happens when you have tummy issues, and it's just terrible when you're in public. And this poor person probably was like running, sprinting to the small airplane bathroom, and they just couldn't make it. I'm hearing conflicting reports that it's a man or a woman that this happened to, which is so unbelievably sad. But imagine having to live with this for the rest of your life. Like, you have to go home from this trip, and every single person on the internet is talking about you having destroyed a plane to the point that they had to rip the carpets out. And I shouldn't be laughing. I want to pray for this person and for their happiness, because I just know if this was me, I would just immediately never see another human being again. I would go into my home and never speak words for the rest of my life. It would just be me as a hermit forever and ever into perpetuity until I die. I would DoorDash all of my food. I would Instacart all of my groceries. I would literally never go out in public again. And so I feel really bad that the entire internet, including myself, I'll be totally transparent, is laughing at this person. But maybe I'm not such a bad person. Maybe everybody's laughing at it. I don't know. Tennessee Explorer says on Rumble, I just told my coworkers and they lost it at this story. I mean, it's really hard not to laugh. Marion says I am a bad person, honestly, on YouTube. All right, you know what? That's fair. It's fine. I'm not the only person who laughed at this, though. I saw a bunch of people saying all over our YouTube chat that you saw all these videos and was absolutely cracking up. Todd says, what a crappy situation. No, Todd, this is absolutely terrible. It's tragic, but also pretty funny. You're not a bad person. Yeah, it's just not okay that this happened. This poor person. Alex says he or she is probably never flying again. I certainly never would. I would fork up all the money to fly private every single day of my life after that. Or I would just never get on a plane ever again. Mountain Lover says you're not a bad person. Their family will probably have a good laugh about this in the years ahead. Alex says I have confession next week anyway. Well, maybe I just need to book myself in with the priest down the road and have a long heart-to-heart about how I'm a terrible person for laughing at this. Kobe says when the rapture happens, Isabel's gonna get left behind only because she laughed at this. That's terrible. Now I need to repent for being such a bad person. Oh man. Anyway, I really got a kick out of that story. So I'm sure you guys did as well. We're going to jump right in to our Ask Me Anything. So if you guys haven't already dropped your questions in our live chat on whatever platform you are watching on, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Getter, or Locals, please do so. We're going to answer as many questions as we possibly can today on the stream. And as we are starting to answer some questions, do me a huge favor right at the outset of our stream today. Go ahead and hit that like button on this episode of the stream. That might look like a little thumbs up or a heart. Ring the notification bell so that you always know when we are going live or uploading new videos. And of course, most importantly, smash that follow or subscribe button on whatever platform you are watching on. We are growing finally on Rumble and YouTube alike, which is so very exciting. Obviously not matching quite the growth rate that we are seeing on Instagram and TikTok, but that has been all supernatural. So praise to God alone for that. I have no idea what's going on over there. I blinked and we're already at 550,000 on Instagram, because this community continues to grow when we just hit 500 like literally a week ago. So excited to see you guys continue to bring your friends and bring more people and have great conversation. None of this would be possible without every single one of you, and I'm so unbelievably grateful for all of your support. So smash that follow or subscribe button and let's jump right in. All right, scrolling to find some questions here. I saw a question from my dad first. Hi, Dad. In the YouTube chat. Dad, you're definitely watching at work right now, which is super embarrassing, so I'll try not to rat you out. But my dad said, if you could have one single superpower, what would it be and why? Fun story. I actually had to answer this question in a job interview once for my first actual paycheck job. I worked at the camp that I grew up going to for 10 years of my childhood in the summer after high school going into college. And I always intended on going back to work a few more summers, but life just didn't work out that way. I'm so unbelievably grateful that I had that one summer to work at camp, though, because that was easily one of the best summers of my life. And every year at camp, we had a theme for summer camp that was a different theme. So one year was the summer of adventure, and one year was the summer of sunshine or whatever. And this summer that I was working was the summer of Marvel, which was actually quite well timed because during that summer, one of the Avengers movies was coming out. And a couple other big Avengers and Marvel related things had happened in the few years bookending that summer at camp in 2015. So when we were interviewing to be counselors for that summer of Marvel, we had to answer in our job interview, if you could have one single superpower, what would it be and why? Which is a stellar job interview question, by the way. Not the weirdest one I've ever gotten, but if you're ever looking to really get to know somebody, ask that question when they are interviewing for a job, and you will learn all kinds of things about the people that you're talking to. I have a good story after this one for a different interview question, but my answer was the same then as it would remain today. If I could have one single superpower today, what would it be and why? It would be the ability to instantaneously speak every language on the face of the planet without having to learn a new language. I love learning languages. I'm extremely rusty in Spanish these days because I just don't speak it enough. Living in Miami is helping quite a bit. But I am bilingual in English and Spanish. I took a year of French in high school when I ran out of Spanish classes to take. I am proficient a little bit in Italian when I go to Europe. But I just think the ability to connect with people that you have nothing in common with, that live a completely different cultural lifestyle than you, and that you otherwise would have no ability to communicate with unless you share a language opportunity to connect, is so important and so beautiful. And every time I've traveled all over the world to different cultures, just being able to even say good morning or good night or thank you in their native language has created really cool friendships and relationships that I still have to this day. So if I could have one single superpower, what would it be and why? It would be the ability to speak every single language on the face of the planet without having to learn a new language. All right, let's jump over to Locals and see what you guys want to know. Scrolling up to the top because I don't want to miss anything. All right. We have a question from... Oh, sorry, you guys. It's been hard to refresh this chat. Here we go. Alex Padron, not including Harry Potter and Star Wars, what's a movie/show you wish you could watch for the first time again? Stranger Things. 100,000%. I just rewatched it this fall. because it's spooky season and I've only ever seen it the one time. And so there were a lot of things that I didn't remember had happened. And I absolutely loved Stranger Things. I didn't watch it as it was coming out. I watched it for the first time in late 2021 going into 2022, and so I got to watch all of it almost at once until season 4 came out, and then I watched season 4 as it did come out. I am so excited for Stranger Things 5. Unfortunately, because of all of the writer strikes, I don't think it's coming anytime soon, which is really unfortunate. But fingers crossed that it does come a lot sooner than we think. They're saying now like 2025 or later, which I would hate. And they're having to use de-aging technology on all of the kids because they're going to look too old while they are filming this series. But I absolutely loved Stranger Things. It hit the perfect amount for me of fantasy and monsters and like the impossible interacting with the real world, but also a historical timepiece, nostalgia. I mean, it was literally like they filmed this show in the 80s. They absolutely nailed it and brought it to life, which was super cool to watch. So I absolutely love Stranger Things. I wish I could watch it for the first time again because I was on the edge of my seat the entire time in all of the best ways. Alexandra has a question for us on YouTube. What inspired you to become a young voice for the conservative movement, Isabel? I know a lot of you guys are relatively pretty new around here, so you might not know my whole story of how I decided to get into this. I will try to have the most abridged, abbreviated version of this story possible because otherwise we're just going to keep talking until the cows come home. But long story short, I did not intend to have any part of my career look like what it does now. I never thought I would work in social media or as a spokesperson for anything or be on the cover of a magazine to talk about politics or even intern for the U.S. government, which I had the ability to do in college. I actually started college to be a trauma surgeon. That was my end-all be-all goal in society. I wanted to be a doctor because I loved the pursuit of truth that came with science, and I've always been an extreme science nerd. I talk about that quite often on the stream and in all of my content. So I wanted to be a surgeon, but I knew I didn't really want to work in a hospital. I thought about maybe doing Doctors Without Borders or like ski patrol physician roles because working under fluorescent lighting in a hospital every day is not me, not my vibe at all. But knew I wanted to work somehow in helping people and ideally combining that with my love of science. My life took a totally huge left turn while I was in college and really found myself thrust into a position of unexpected leadership because I found myself surrounded by 33,000 people that did not share my values at all, but I knew statistically there had to be other people like me who were just too quiet and too scared to speak up. So I decided to do something about that when I was in college. I raised my hand in class and challenged the professor quite often. I ran for student government, and I started a chapter of a conservative organization that's based on college campuses called Turning Point USA on my university campus in the fall of 2017. Really hit the jackpot in timing there because right around the time that we were starting to host our first ever events and the whole conservative speakers on college campuses thing was starting when I was a student, was right smack dab in the middle of the rise of Antifa. It was when Ben Shapiro was getting protested and buildings lit on fire at UC Berkeley and when all kinds of really crazy stuff was happening on campuses. So found myself having to, out of necessity, talk to the local media in the state of Colorado and national media alike about some events that we had on my campus with Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens. Her first ever campus speaking event was at my university. So we go way, way back, which is a really fun story that we love to tell all the time. And Dennis Prager, while I was a student, literally Antifa from all over the West decided to protest the events that I was holding to talk about free speech on a large public college campus. Got lots and lots of death threats and threats of violence. I got some F's on papers and written up at my job for being pretty outspoken about my values. I write about all of that in my book that I self-published called Frontlines, Finding My Voice on an American College Campus, which was very fun to write throughout the process of being in the heart of America's college campuses myself, and basically fell in love with advocating for my values for other people and making sure that other people who shared my values knew that they were not alone. We had all kinds of really incredible opportunities to just shake things up on my college campus and have different conversations than what the administration or my professors were advocating for, and doing the job of what college is supposed to do in challenging your values and challenging your perspectives and presenting you with an alternative way of thinking. So decided I wanted to continue doing that after college in whatever capacity I could, and realized that with the rise of social media. At the time, we had like IGTV, and it was a while ago. It was 2019. I knew that social media would be a great avenue for me to continue doing that even after I had graduated. So I sat my parents down on the couch in our living room in Colorado and said, hey, I don't think I want to go to medical school. I think I want to make content on Instagram about my values and help people realize they're not alone. And my parents both started laughing. My dad half jokingly said, if you can find a way to pay for it, great, good for you. And here we are. In a few years later, it's been I can't even do math, 5 years now that we've been doing this, and it's been really exciting. So absolutely love what I get to do every day. My job and what I do from a tangible perspective has changed a million times over. What I was doing in 2019 looks nothing like what I do right now, and I'm sure the same is going to be said 4 or 5 years from now compared to what we're doing today. So I'm just along for the ride. God's doing all the hard work, but it is a huge, huge blessing, and I do not regret any bit of it at all. Let's jump over to Getter and answer a new question over here. Swoony says, what would you do if your spouse or partner suddenly decided to change their religion or become an atheist? Would you break up with them or try to find a compromise? That's a really interesting question. I think it's a different question if it was a spouse, that someone you were married to, versus somebody that you were dating or thinking about marriage with. Personally, one of the biggest reasons that I am marrying my fiance is that we share our religious values. That is the most important foundation for his individual identity, for my individual identity, for our journey as a couple, and for our future family. It shapes what we do politically. It shapes our friendships, and just our general outlook on the world. So if that were to dramatically change and become like 100% different, like a 180 flip compared to what it is now, I don't think that we would be a good fit to get married, but we're not married yet. So that's obviously a different conversation than if you are married to somebody who has a radical conversion like that. I think ultimately, if you don't share the same religious values, it's really difficult to share any other common values or believe that you have the same trajectory or purpose in a marriage. Ultimately, when you marry somebody, the purpose of you being with your spouse for the rest of your life is not just to financially provide for one another or provide for your children or create a stable home for one another. It's ultimately to get each other into heaven. That is like the ultimate end goal of your marriage. And if your spouse is no longer committed to that goal, I don't know how that can work long term in your marriage. I hope that that gives you some perspective and something interesting to think about. Los Ravosa has a question for us from Europe on YouTube. I've got one. How do you find out about worldwide politics being so evil and corrupt? And at what point do you know what's going on and stop following it blindly like most people do nowadays? Whew, that is a extremely loaded question. I think in many ways I've been extremely blessed with a gift that doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense, but is absolutely in line with what we were just talking about with my religious values. The Holy Spirit works absolute wonders through women. This is true of any situation, but I think especially true of this conversation, by giving women uniquely the gift of intuition. And women just have this gut feeling when something is right and something is wrong. And that's true of anything, right? That's true of if you're pretty sure your boyfriend's cheating on you, all the way up to global politics being extremely corrupt and evil and trying to take over the world in this World Economic Forum, one world order perspective that most people are waking up to now with the people I run in the same circles with. So I think I've always had a sense of intuition about that. I am naturally skeptical of people in positions of leadership. You can ask my parents. My teenage years were not very fun because I was extremely skeptical of a lot of the things that we had to go back and forth on. And I just think ultimately my perspective on the world has always been not to inherently trust people, because people are ultimately corruptible. So especially when people have abundant, unlimited power, of course that unlimited power has the capacity to absolutely corrupt someone, and absolutely not being like, oh wow, that's so crazy, but wholly. Their whole essence has been corrupted. And so I think I've always kind of had an ability to parse through all of the noise and drown out some of the noise to follow the truth. But I think more and more people are starting to wake up for that and wake up to the reality that they need to take on a role of active leadership for themselves, for their families, and their communities, rather than just blindly following all of the people in power. But it starts with just opening your heart and your soul to be intuitive to the things going on around you. Situational awareness is key. All right. Scrolling through on locals, Crazy Cat Lady. I've been hearing more about heavy metal detoxing and parasites. I've been thinking about doing one myself, but what do you think? Everybody on TikTok is talking about heavy metal detoxing and parasite detoxing. A bunch of people are taking like certain teas that are supposed to get parasites out of your digestive system. That's all great. Detoxing is hugely important, and there are shards of metal like literally everywhere. There are microplastics literally everywhere, and there are parasites literally everywhere. But don't just buy a product that you see from an influencer on social media without doing your own research first, and especially without speaking to a physician first, especially if you're talking about a detox of your digestive system. Your gut health is hugely important, and we wouldn't want a plain situation to happen to you because you start taking the wrong products or you do something that's really not right for your body. Please speak to your doctor first about what opportunity might be right for you to start detoxing in your life. But you guys know I've been on like a total detox mission as of late in my life, with the clothes that I'm wearing, with the food that we're eating, the makeup and skincare that I use, cleaning supplies, all of the above. So I'm a big believer in trying to detox wherever you can. Just make sure that you talk to a physician first. Ideas Not Money has a super interesting question for us on Getter. What do Gen Xers need to know about your generation? Ooh. So Gen Xers are, generally speaking, the parents of Gen Zers. My parents are Gen Xers. And I think generally Gen Xers and Boomers have the most distorted or misinformed perspective about Gen Z of any generation. And I don't know where that comes from. I think a lot of that is fueled by politics. I think a lot of that is just the nature of humanity itself, that every generation of parents and children has a hard time understanding where each other's generations are coming from. But I talk about this quite often. To sum it up in a nice little neat answer for our Q&A today, most Gen Xers I have found and come across with in the world of politics, in the world of religion, and particularly on social media, have this generalized belief that Gen Zers are stupid, that we are lazy, that we are entitled, that we are uneducated, and we are somehow destroying society for the worst because we are not doing things the same way that they are doing things. If our trajectory in life looks different from that of our parents, it doesn't mean we're dumb. It doesn't mean we're uneducated. It certainly doesn't mean that we are lazy. It means we might be working smarter, not harder, to have a better outcome than they have had. Gen Z has been fed this narrative universally over and over and over again from our parents' generation, that the only ways to be successful are to go get your 4-year degree, even if you don't really need it, just to have it, because that's going to make you more successful, to go intern and then get a crap job at a 9-to-5 company that really doesn't care about you, to work your way up through the corporate ladder so that eventually you can prove your loyalty to your company and try to make sure that you are the one standing at the end of the day who gets the promotion 40, 50, 60 years from now, which is just ridiculous. Gen Z is charting our own course, and we're willing to experiment and try new things and make our own definition of success and our own trajectory to happiness and prosperity. That doesn't make us evil. That doesn't make us wrong. That just makes us different. And I think there's a frustration that goes back to our parents' generation, that they are kind of unwilling to hear us out on that. But there's also just this animosity that's building between both sides of the conversation. So wherever we can facilitate better conversations, I think we can come to a more mutual understanding that the biggest thing Gen X needs to know about Gen Z is just because we are different doesn't necessarily mean that we are wrong or stupid or lazy or entitled. Dutch Canadian wants to know what my favorite Star Wars movie is and why. Great question on YouTube, Dutch Canadian. Empire Strikes Back. And I also think there's a very coherent argument to be made that Empire Strikes Back is actually the greatest single movie ever made. Ever. Like standalone movie in isolation, I think Empire Strikes Back is the greatest movie ever made. Maybe it's a basic answer, but it is the best Star Wars movie by far. Unbelievably incredible. Will I go watch that tonight? Probably, now that we're talking about this. Yes, I probably will. Sabina wants to know on locals, have you only had Libby in your life or were there other pets before her? I have been extremely fortunate to be raised with lots of pets. I've always been an animal person. Before I wanted to be a doctor, Throughout my entire childhood, I wanted to be a veterinarian. And before that, I wanted to be a pet store owner in kindergarten and preschool. That's what I used to write down on my stupid, what do you want to be when you grow up answers. And I grew up riding horses. I grew up with lots of dogs. Like, animals were always a huge, huge part of my life. And I absolutely love that our family prioritized that, because that was such a beautiful aspect of the memories from my childhood that I'm able to hold on to forever and ever. We got our first dog that I remember when I was in first or second grade. But my parents had this horrible habit of getting dogs, and then we would move to another state and they wouldn't bring the dog with us, which is so messed up if you really think about it. No offense, mom and dad, but like, that's really messed up. So we would get a puppy and we would let the puppy turn like 1 year old, and then we would give it away to another family. We would rehome it when we moved, which was terrible. So we did this like 3 or 4 times. We had Bridget, who was a Cocker Spaniel, cockapoo, I think, when I was in first or second grade. I cannot remember. I'm really bad with years and numbers. You guys will know this about me. And then we gave her away when we moved to Idaho. And then we got a dog when we moved back to Colorado in fourth grade. That was a Karen Terrier, which is the same dog that Toto is in The Wizard of Oz, and we named him Teddy because he looked like a little teddy bear. Adorable dog. Gave him away like a year later. We also got a pug once, but she was really sick. She had pneumonia, so we had to take her back to where we got her because she was like not going to survive and she couldn't breathe. And we named her Eloise after Eloise at the plaza because she had a pet dog, a pet pug, and we loved that dog for all 24 hours that we had her. And then we had a dog that like stuck with me my entire childhood when, oh, you know what? I think I'm ahead of my time. We got Buddy when I was in second grade, so everything else happened before that. But I used to sit there with the newspaper ads when I was in elementary school, and every weekend I would grab the newspaper from my mom and dad and sit at the kitchen table, and I would read the classified ads for people trying to rehome their dogs because my parents did not want to get another puppy. They didn't want to go through potty training a dog, but I wanted a dog something terrible. I had this dog encyclopedia that was this thick, and I would read about every single dog breed on the face of the planet. I have always been a dog person, 100%, which is why I don't really like cats, so no offense. But I found my dog Buddy in the newspaper ad in second grade when we lived in Idaho, so all the other dogs were before that. See, I'm really bad with years. And he was a little rat terrier, which is basically a Jack Russell Terrier, that was living in a home breeding mastiffs. So he was totally neglected and nobody paid attention to him. And he was the cutest dog. And he was about 2 years old when we got him. And he was my dog. He would sleep with me in the bed every single night. We had so much fun, me and Buddy. He was my bestest friend. We dressed up together for Halloween every single year. And Buddy died the summer after my freshman year of college. He was old, and his kidneys had failed and it was really bad. So Buddy was my childhood dog all the way through college. I didn't have a pet in college, and I promised myself I would get my Corgi that I always wanted after graduate school, hence why I now have Liberty. I will have other pets after her. Big animal person. Someday when I live on my farm in Alaska, I would love to have horses and other dogs running around and just all of the above. I think it would be really fun. 23 Fresh, who do you think will win the Super Bowl this season? I have absolutely no idea. I have not paid attention to NFL football enough in the last 5 years to really give you an answer to who I even think is a good team anymore. The one thing I can tell you about the NFL today is that I'm really disappointed that the Broncos aren't better because I had such high hopes for Russell freaking Wilson, like Broncos country, let's ride. I was ready. And then last season just totally let me down. We were the Donkeys, not the Broncos. So I can tell you who's probably not winning the Super Bowl this year, and that is the Denver Broncos. Brock started watching some Netflix documentary series about the Florida Gators football team and Tim Tebow when he was there. And I just had this longing nostalgia the other day for Tebow time in the fourth quarter where anything was possible. Everything was a Hail Mary, and you could win any game that you possibly set your mind to. Long gone are those days. I do pay a lot more attention to college football. I think college football is way better and more entertaining and just more fun. And last season obviously was really fun for our family because my baby sister goes to Texas Christian University in Fort Worth in Texas. So we got to be the super fans cheering on the Horned Frogs, the Hypno Toad, as they went all the way to the national championship, which literally was impossible odds. So very fun. I'll pay a lot more attention to college football than the NFL this season, but I don't know. Who do you guys think is going to win the Super Bowl? I have absolutely no idea. Michael over on Rumble has a great question for us. When it comes to music, Isabel, what are you listening to? It's a super basic answer, but my favorite genre of music has always been and will forever be country music. I love George Strait. I love Kenny Chesney. I love Tim McGraw. And I really like new country as well. Morgan Wallen is my man. Oh, we love Morgan Wallen. But I also really like alternative rock. I like bluegrass and kind of like folk music a lot. One of the top artists that I'm listening to at this very moment is Noah Kahan. I love Noah Kahan. I really like Camp and the Lumineers, and so kind of like the folksy bluegrass alternative stuff I absolutely love, but I will always be a country music girl deep, deep down at heart. All right, let's keep going through our YouTube chat. Oh, Dan, good timing. Do you like 80s rock? Heck yes, I like 80s rock. If you don't like 80s rock, your parents did not raise you appropriately. Same goes for 70s rock. 70s music in general is just an iconic era that needs to be enshrined and needs to be protected at all costs. 23 Fresh has a great question for us on YouTube, and I'm going to take a sip of my tea. What advice would you give to a person who wants to attend law school? Those of you who have been following for a while know that I was accepted to law school. I ended up deferring and I didn't end up going because my career totally took off in a totally different direction. I started doing all of this. I was supposed to go to law school in the fall of 2020, which I did not want to do at all. Nobody would have wanted to go to law school. So I deferred for the fall of 2021, decided not to go because everything had taken off so very quickly in my career. And I don't think I will go at this point. You never know, never say never, but my career just went in a totally different direction. I never wanted to practice law. I was mostly interested in the policy side of things, and my parents are both attorneys. And I like that law school teaches you how to think, or at least it's supposed to. It was when they went to law school, and now, unfortunately, just like undergrad, has really turned into this never-ending churn of indoctrination. Rather than teaching you how to think, they're teaching you what to think. So one of the big reasons that I decided not to go was by the time I would have started in the fall of 2021, they were making sure that you adhered to the principles of critical race theory in order to be licensed by the bar to practice law. Like, you could not be a licensed attorney if you didn't take enough critical race theory classes and stand before the character and fitness portion of the bar and say that you believed in all of those things in order to become a licensed attorney, which is absolute BS. That is not what it means to be a lawyer. And it certainly is not what law school is supposed to be about. Law school is supposed to be about playing devil's advocate and expanding your perspectives. But I digress, different conversation for a different time. So I decided not to go. I was very keen on going, but the biggest advice that I can have for somebody who wants to attend law school is upfront, number one, your GPA is really not going to be any sort of bearing on what law school you get into. It is 100,000% your LSAT that determines what kind of law school you get into and where you have the opportunity to go. Pay for an LSAT tutor. Just do it. Get somebody who has tutored hundreds, if not thousands of people to take the LSAT. Don't go through a Kaplan or a Princeton review. You want to work with an individual tutoring business or like a person who's been doing this for a long time because they know how to test you for the test. They have test banks of like thousands of LSATs that you can take as practice exams, and they teach you all kinds of little tricks and gimmicks to make sure you're getting the right answer rather than just a right answer on the test. And really, if you want to go to an elite law school, you have to get at least a 170. Out of 180 on the exam. That's like a 95%. I got a 167 and I was waitlisted for most of the really elite schools. So do not sleep on the LSAT. You need to take your LSAT extremely seriously and don't sleep on that. In terms of wanting to attend law school beyond that, just like my advice for attending college at this point, do not go to law school if you don't know you want to be there and if you're not prepared to understand that any sort of university environment today is designed to try to change what you think, not just how you think. My sister and her boyfriend are running up against this in medical school today. There's all kinds of just unbelievable crap indoctrination happening at every level of the American education system. So if you are remotely wavering on any of your values, if you're nervous about being surrounded by people who don't share your values, higher education probably isn't a really great environment for you to be in right now, but it might be in the future. So know what you believe, be willing to stick by your guns and stand up for yourself, and give them some hell, because everybody needs to be confronted with some new ideas every once in a while. And I think I had the most fun in college when I was being kind of the poke the bear person and willing to raise my hand when other people were totally unwilling to do that. So best of luck to anybody who wants to go. If you ever have any more specific questions for me about law school or why I decided not to go, please feel free to DM me on social media, and I will let you guys know anything else that you want to know. Band Dog on Locals wants to know, have you ever wanted to be a giantess? If you suddenly grew into one day, how big would you grow and what would you do at that size? Honestly, no. I've never wanted to be a giant. I am only 5'1", which apparently shocks and amazes people from the internet because you guys think I'm a lot taller through a screen when you don't see how tall I am in real life. I get told all the time when I meet people in real life, I thought you were going to be a lot taller, which is so funny. So no, I don't want to be a giant. I would like 3 or 4 more inches. I think that would be really interesting. But as I always like to say, in defense of my size, God only lets people grow God only lets things grow until they are perfect. And some of us just didn't take as long as others. I stopped growing in the 6th grade, so there you go. God didn't need me to keep growing too much after all of that. All right, I'm trying to scroll through and make sure I'm seeing everything as humanly possible that you guys are dropping in here. Josh Levi, what's your opinion on your your alma mater, Colorado, and Deion Sanders' big win on Saturday? I actually didn't go to the University of Colorado. I went to Colorado State University, so we don't love the Buffs very much, although that was where I was going to go to law school, and I did come around a little bit on the Buffaloes side of things. They had a miraculous win. I was really disappointed because we wanted to see TCU win. Obviously, my sister goes there, and they had the best season ever last season, but hugely impressed with Deion Sanders' coaching style. I think he's extremely underestimated in the world of sports, and very few teams wanted him. And very few people, pundits, are taking him seriously. I hope that shoved it all back in their face so that people would have an opportunity to see what he is capable of and what that team is probably going to do this year. I love seeing anybody from Colorado succeed, and my home state make some waves, which is very exciting, and I thought it was a really great game to watch nonetheless. M-Rock wants to know on Locals, favorite cartoon growing up. We watched mostly live action Disney Channel shows when I was growing up. We did watch some cartoons. So when I was really, really young, my favorite cartoon was Blue's Clues. I was obsessed with Blue's Clues and Steve and the handy dandy notebook. Who was the guy after Steve? I can't even remember. They replaced him with some dweeb, but Steve was the OG, okay? And my parents somehow found a real life thinking chair that was identical to the thinking chair on Blue's Clues. And it was this little replica that was my size. I was 3 or 4 maybe when I had this. I still remember this chair like it's right in front of me. And it was a red velvet thinking chair with the little squigglies, exactly how it looked on the cartoon of Blue's Clues. And I had my handy dandy notebook, and I would sit there and write in my handy dandy notebook. And my parents, when we moved, sold that chair in a garage sale. To this day, I will never forgive them. They don't make that chair anymore. I have looked. I wanted to give that chair to my children because I knew Blue's Clues would come back someday. And lo and behold, it has. Rest in peace to my hopes and dreams. Blue's Clues was easily my favorite cartoon growing up. We watched a lot of Dora the Explorer, SpongeBob, obviously iconic. You will never be able to replicate SpongeBob. It's just one of a kind. But my favorite live action show growing up was Lizzie McGuire, obviously. I was Lizzie McGuire for Halloween 3 years in a row. And to this day, I watch the Lizzie McGuire movie because it is that iconic and so very good. So, Blue's Clues, Dora the Explorer, SpongeBob. I watched Bob the Builder and all of that stuff too. Trying to think if there's anything else I'm hugely forgetting cartoon-wise. I'm sure I am. Dragon Tales, great show. Avatar, Last Airbender, great, great, great show. It's all good. They don't make cartoons like they do from back then these days, do they? The cartoons today, like Coco Melon, just suck. Although I've been told Bluey is wonderful and all the parents really love Bluey. So there you go. Jake wants to know from Australia in YouTube, I recently saw a panel clip where somebody barked at you. That did happen when I was speaking on a college campus last semester. Somebody started barking at me because they didn't like what I had to say. What were you feeling in that moment, and how do you stay so calm when talking to people who only want to argue? Well, I did speech and debate competitively in high school. And one of the most valuable things that I ever learned from speech and debate than the person you are debating. If you let your emotions get the better of you, and if you let your feelings start running wild and start feeling nervous or anxious about the conversation that you're in, you will never win a debate or a conversation or have the opportunity to really pack a punch in those moments. So I always try to take a really deep breath when I find myself in situations like when I'm speaking on college campuses and people are screaming or barking at me. I will go extremely deep breath in, extremely deep breath out a few times. And usually that keeps me calm enough to have a rational conversation, even when people are not being rational back with me. Generally, though, I don't have a hard time staying really calm with a lot of these people. I don't know if it's like a supernatural thing or what, but I just try to tell the truth. And if you're rooted in the truth, then it's pretty easy to stay solid on your own 2 feet, even when other people are really losing their minds, because you have reality on your side, right? And ultimately, that's the most important tool that you can possibly have at your disposal to make a difference and keep people thinking. Sabina wants to know, what movie or TV show universe would you want to live in? Harry Potter, obviously. There is nothing that will ever come close to that for me. If I could live in the world of Harry Potter, yes. Yeah, I've made it, Mom. I used to pretend that I did. I've had many dreams my entire life where it's me, Ron, Hermione, and Harry, but it's like the 4 of us instead of a trio. Many times. Oh, yeah. I'm that much of a Harry Potter fanatic, so there is that. Kobe wants to know who my favorite superhero is, since we are talking about superheroes. Ooh, I'm more of a Marvel girl than a DC girl, but new Marvel kind of sucks. So when I'm talking about Marvel, with few exceptions, I'm talking about pre-Endgame, okay? For me, Marvel basically died after Endgame, with the exception of Moon Knight, which was really, really good. My favorite superhero would probably be either Captain America, obviously. Thor, I really like, but I think it would probably come down to Captain America or Spider-Man. I'm a big Peter Parker, Spider-Man girl. I think Tom Holland is the best Peter Parker and Spider-Man by far. Don't at me. He is far better than Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield at being both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Don't at me. It's just scientific truth. We're offending people this week. It's fine. I will stick by these things. But I'm a big Captain America, Spider-Man girl. The last Spider-Man that they just made, the ending, oh, my soul. That one was tough to watch, but it was so very good. Crazy Cat Lady wants to know, if you could go back in time to meet Jesus, what time would you visit him in? Why? Well, first and foremost, I do know Jesus. I think that's important to know. He's alive, so we don't have to necessarily go back in time to meet him. But if I were to be here during his ministry on earth, what time would I go visit him in? Probably just during the 3 years that he was doing his ministry and performing miracles. I mean, I think seeing those things with your own 2 eyes would be the most insane, wonderful, out of this world experience humanly possible. It's why the entire world was completely changed. Not just because he's the Messiah, obviously, but from a cultural perspective, the entire world completely changed because people were seeing these signs and miracles and supernatural things right before their very eyes. And I just think it would be the coolest thing in the entire world. I like to think that if I would have been living in Israel at that time, I would have been willing to drop everything and follow Jesus and just go out of my way to drop everything else in my life, have less of me and more of him. And I'm very much looking forward to someday getting to ask him a very long list of questions that I have been developing in my head throughout my life. I hope I don't forget my list when I make it there, but I got a lot of questions, so it is all very exciting stuff. The world is like a zoo. Great to see you on Getter. Do you think that Hollywood culture and the entertainment industry is ruining relationships and marriages? I think it's contributing, but I don't think it's just Hollywood and the entertainment industry that's contributing to the downfall of marriage and relationships in general. I think it's just our culture across the board. We have facilitated a culture based on lies rather than truth about what's going to make you happy, make you feel fulfilled, and lead to a lasting relationship in the future. And that obviously has contributed to the lowest marriage rate America has ever seen since we began recording marriage rates in 1867. We have one of the highest divorce rates in American history, and most of our generation is not dating at all. We are taking ourselves off the dating market voluntarily because we don't want to deal with all of the heartbreak and negativity that we have promoted as normal. So I think it's a mixture of a million different things that has led to the degradation of marriages and dating relationships. Pornography as an industry, huge component. Culturally saying that marriage is not it anymore, which I see countless videos of on social media, and I hear from influencers and celebrities and politicians all the time. Attacking the family unit has obviously contributed to a degradation of marriages, but the entertainment industry and Hollywood certainly has contributed to that conversation and that conversion by presenting marriage as a very negative vice in society rather than a virtue to run after. We've presented committed dating relationships as boring or not desirable somehow, even though we know that's going to make us a lot happier than hookup culture and polyamory and being cheated on and all of the above. So certainly something that has contributed, but not the sole reason. Dutch Canadian, great question. If you had 24 hours off, no commitment or worries, you are free to do whatever you want, what would you do? I would pack a bunch of stuff in a backpack. I would go to a trail in the middle of the woods in Alaska, and I would just start walking and then sleep on the ground. Backpacking is like my favorite thing in the entire world. I love backpacking. It is the real camping, by the way. Car camping is fine. It's okay. RV camping is not camping. Sorry to spoil that for you, but it's just not. And backpacking is the most elite way to connect with nature. I've seen so many cool things in the middle of the woods with zero cell service, zero reception, zero connection to the outside world. It is one of my favorite things to do, and I will always, always, always cherish all of the moments that I've had to backpack and disconnect from society. So if I had a day off, I would go backpacking instantaneously. Magic Def, if $500,000 dropped in your lap today, what would you do with it and why? Great question. Something I think about quite often, actually, because I'm trying to create more of a coherent business plan for scaling my content and continuing to grow all of the things that we are working on through my small business and my LLC. If $500,000 dropped in my lap tomorrow, I would hire 5 people and get help to keep growing and scaling all of this stuff. You guys know I'm a team of 1, so I'm the person who sources all of our stories, who edits all of my content, who posts all of the things, who responds to all of your comments, who does webinars and public speaking and travels and all of the above. I'm absolutely at the point now that I can't keep doing it by myself, and a lot of mentors and people who have been helping me along the way have been incredibly encouraging of me. That is a good feeling to have. It means you're going in the right direction, but it's true. Eventually, you do need help. So I would hire 5 people instantaneously, and I would get some help with my business and hopefully just continue scaling opportunities to connect with all of you guys. Kobe wants to know if I'm ever coming to Oklahoma. Interestingly, I never went to Oklahoma, and I have a few more states that I need to go to, so I'm pulling up my list for you. Hang on. Here we go. I have 6 states left. I'm getting really, really close, which is very exciting. Oklahoma is one of the states that I still need to go to, which is very sad because my grandma grew up in Ringling, Oklahoma. My mom lived there for a little while, like very small town. I don't even think it's a real town anymore. I think it's kind of like an abandoned blip on the map, to be honest with you. But lots of family heritage in Oklahoma. And I've spent time all around Oklahoma, but never in Oklahoma. So hopefully I will come there, Kobe. Arkansas is on the list. Michigan and Minnesota are on the list. Rhode Island and West Virginia. And those are the 6 states left that I still need to go to get all 50. I am very optimistic I'm able to make that happen sometime very, very soon. And hopefully we'll get to meet you guys in real life when I'm doing that as well. 23 Fresh wants to know who my celebrity crush was growing up. Can you guys guess? I'm curious if you would be able to guess this, just based on the era that I was a child in. I'll wait. I'll hang out for a second. It's not a difficult guess, I'll be honest with you. It's actually quite easy to guess. Now I gotta scroll all the way down, though. Brock, why'd you ruin it? Hopefully you didn't hear that. My fiance just yelled it. All right, if nobody wants to guess. People are typing, though. We'll wait. No, you didn't hear it, Sabina. Okay, that's good. It was not Taylor Lautner, but good guess, Raymond. He was pretty great, but he wasn't like my guy. It was not Daniel Radcliffe or Leonardo DiCaprio. He was a little too old for me, I think, when I was a kid. Marnus got it. It was Zac Efron. I am forever a Zac Efron girl. I was the biggest, I still am, let's just be honest with ourselves, the biggest fan of High School Musical. We went every single time. We did a premiere party at our friend's house every time it dropped on Disney Channel. The third one, we went out the day it came out in the movie theaters. I know every word to every song. I can quote all of those movies. I am a Zac Efron stan. And then right after number 3 came out, when he was in Hairspray, ooh, yes, absolutely yes. I will forever be a Zac Efron girl. Yes, I'm a nerd. It's fine. You guys don't have to judge me, but it's a-okay. Maze Page says I have a tall voice. You guys think I'm tall because of my voice? I feel like Yzma. Is that my voice? Is that my voice? Elite movie, by the way. No, I don't have a tall voice, I don't think. It's just me. It's just me. Mikhail wants to know, from the Czech Republic, so cool, I've been to your beautiful country once many years ago. Do you do any sports? If you do, how often do you practice? I don't play any sports now, although I think it would be really fun to get into like an adult recreational league of something. But I played several different sports growing up as a kid. I played basketball in elementary school until everyone else kept growing and I didn't. I played lacrosse one summer, but I really hated it, to be honest, and so I didn't keep playing. I ran track and field in high school, so I ran the 1, the 2, the 4, some relays. I tried hurdles. I was way too short for it, and I pole vaulted in high school, and I was on a competitive dance team my entire childhood. Dance was like my biggest, most favorite thing that I did all of the time, and loved doing all of those things. I danced every single day, like 6 days a week throughout my entire childhood. Nowadays, sadly, I don't have a lot of time to do stuff like that, but would love to do some sort of adult sports league more regularly, or take a dance class or something. My fiance and I play pickleball every once in a while, which is our guilty pleasure. But other than that, I don't play any sports necessarily. Mrock, Lord of the Rings, yes or no? Yes, but hot take, Harry Potter and Star Wars are way better than Lord of the Rings. Sorry, don't at me. It's just scientifically true. You can hate me if you want at the end of the day, but your judgment does not impact how I see myself. All right, let's scroll back up on locals. Alex, you will never unfollow me, no matter how many offensive things I say to you, let's be honest. Magic Def, this is a great question. How does Isabel's life look like in a few years when, God willing, I am a mother with children? I pray that my job situation and the content that I'm creating for you guys doesn't really change after I get married. Maze Page, I'm not going to change the name of my show. I'm still professionally going to use my same name, even though I will take my fiance's name when he is my husband. Legally speaking, professionally, I will still be Isabel Brown, so as not to confuse all of you guys. I hope that when I'm a mom, God willing, if I'm a mom, my whole content situation and working from home and writing books, none of that really changes. I feel really fortunate that I have a career that could pretty regularly transition with ease into the next phase of my life, because I work from home every single day. I can work from the road whenever I want, and I have the opportunity to make a very varied income based on what I'm doing on that day, be it the content I'm creating or a book advance or a speaking engagement or anything else. I kind of have created this like puzzle piece career that even if one of those pieces had to be removed temporarily, it could fit right back in, and or we could add more pieces to the puzzle. So hopefully when we have our kids someday, God willing, we are able to spend a lot of time with them. We hope to homeschool them at some point. Obviously that's way down the road when our kids exist and or are old enough to go to school, but getting to spend a lot of time together, go off the grid, travel a lot, be more intentional with connecting with our family unit is really important to both my fiance and I hope that we are able to create that very exciting lifestyle that a lot of people wish that they could have, and we are slowly building bit by bit by bit. Jake wants to know, what is something you wish you knew 5 years ago? Something I wish I knew 5 years ago. The most important, obvious thing probably would just be if something is continuing to not work out. Like if you are busting your butt trying to make something happen and door after door after door after door keeps getting slammed in your face, it probably is happening for a reason. That's probably not the trajectory that you're supposed to be walking in your life. That can be said for your dating relationships. That can be said for friendships that probably aren't going to continue into the next chapter of your life. And it certainly can be said for career opportunities and what you're doing professionally. So I've spent a lot of time in my own life trying to justify being with the wrong person or doing the wrong thing or being in the wrong place and fitting a square peg into a round hole, so to speak. And I wish I could go back and tell myself 5 years ago, if something is really just repeatedly getting the door slammed in your face, it's okay to let that go. And it's probably not what you are supposed to be doing long term. Ultimately, what you are supposed to be doing long term will present itself, whether you ever had a dream of doing that or not. Obviously, look at what I'm doing today when I was studying biomedical sciences in college and had absolutely no frame of reference for being a content creator in the future. And I think that's really especially true of my dating relationships and my now fiance. It just kind of all lined up perfectly, supernaturally, I suppose, when I was trying to very much struggle to put pieces together of relationships that weren't meant to be and weren't supposed to work out long term. So listen to your intuition with that, and don't forget to pray about the doors that are opening and closing in your own life as well. Crocs versus Chacos. Somebody just asked, Crazy Cat Lady, Chacos. I have literally like 12 pairs. I wear my Chocs all the time. It is not an ironic thing like all of you losers from the South that think you are preppy when you wear Chacos, like you're somehow frat if you wear Chacos. Chacos are intended for life outside adventurously, in rivers or on mountains or traveling through old dirt roads. They are not meant for country clubs or SEC tailgates. I said what I said. I'm just on one this week, apparently really offending people all across the board. But yeah, Chacos. Chacos all the way over Crocs. I do have a pair of Crocs, but Chacos 100,000%. All right, John, as a Christian, what are your views on Halloween? Asked on Rumble. Great question. Views on Halloween. I celebrate Halloween. I don't think it's necessarily bad to celebrate Halloween. Are there massive demonic and satanic influences in our culture today? Yes, absolutely. I am intentionally not watching the Doja Cat music video that everybody is so fixated on social media because everybody's making like jokes about how much they all want to be Christians now after watching that video. No interest in doing that. I don't watch super scary, gory horror movies. I just really don't have an interest in doing that. Have no desire to watch movies like The Exorcist or like play with any of that. No desire there. However, I don't think dressing up and asking people for candy is a problem. And I think sometimes Christian culture in America, largely evangelical Christian culture in America, tends to overcorrect for a lot of the problems that they're seeing in society. For example, growing up, people would ask my parents all the time how they could let their kid read Harry Potter because it was satanic or witchcraft or all of these like horrible, horrible things. Little do they know, Harry Potter has a massive amount of biblical allegories and references throughout the entire storyline, but they just wouldn't know that because they didn't give themselves the opportunity to. Just a few months ago, a very prominent conservative talk show host was talking about how all anime was satanic or demonic. Not even remotely true. And if you really believe that, that just goes to tell me that you've probably never watched anime in your entire life. So I think, again, that overcorrection tendency tends to happen quite often in society, in American culture in particular. And I'm not a huge fan of the overcorrection. Take things with a grain of salt. Prepare yourself for knowing that there are demonic and satanic influences in our lives, but dressing your kids up as a Disney princess and going and asking people for candy at their front door is not a bad thing. Not inherently bad. It could be. Anything could be inherently bad. Tom reminds us, very importantly, what's interesting is that Halloween actually has a rich Catholic history of being the eve of All Saints Day, correct, which we seem to have forgotten in modern American society. I still celebrate All Saints Day, but the secular version of Halloween is where with all the demonic stuff can be really awful, correct. So again, anything can be really good or really bad. It's just up to you to make sure that you're guarding against the bad and using opportunities for good. All right. Scrolling to make sure I can read all of your questions. Yes, Dirty Mike, that is me in the thumbnail. It's an older picture, but yes. You guys have a lot of questions. Shuffle says, I heard hiking trails are as busy as a New York street. Anywhere in particular? In Colorado, where I grew up? No, I've never had a hiking trail be like super unbelievably packed like that, with one or two exceptions. I think it depends on where you go and what kind of trail you are on, but I don't think I have ever experienced a hiking trail that crowded. But also, I have experienced completely empty New York City streets, so it just depends on where you are going, I suppose. Stan wants to know opinion on tattoos. I have a tattoo. I have one tattoo. I got it last November when I was filming my documentary in Jerusalem at the oldest tattoo parlor in the entire world. It is owned by 28 generations of the same family that has been giving Christian pilgrimage tattoos, especially to the Catholic faith, which is super interesting, throughout the last 28 generations since the year 1300 coming to the Holy Land. They are a Coptic Christian family, super interesting place called Razuk Tattoo. So I do have a tattoo. I don't think that they are inherently bad. Again, probably a generational thing. My tattoo is of the Jerusalem cross. It's hard because of the angle of my arm. Of the Jerusalem cross, which is one of the first ever symbols of Christianity in the entire world. And I'm very proud of it, and it did not hurt at all. My fiance is standing behind the screen waiting to talk to me.
I feel like you and your fandom watching your stream deserve to see this as well.
Apparently, we all deserve to see something.
You had a really cool comment on your...
Lego commented on my TikTok. That's so cool. Guys, this is what I mean. The nerdy people get it. All of the Instagram betas who were upset about me saying nerdy boys are elite, Lego commented on my TikTok and said, if he owns a Lego set, green flag. Thanks, babe.
Lego, that's cool.
Did we order the Gringotts Bank Lego set yet? Because low-key, I really want to build it. Can we order it? Yeah. We love to see it. All right, let's do a handful more questions. I have not really eaten a lot of food today, so Isabel needs a snack. And before we answer the last several questions, wait, Libby, come back. Come here. Come. I want to tell you guys, I'm doing a webinar tonight with Good Catholic Media. They do some really, really awesome work, and highly recommend you try to tune in tonight. We're doing a webinar with me and a priest and a handful of other people answering your guys' questions about faith, called How to Find Peace in Political Times, and how you should always let your faith lead the way rather than being swayed by the changing secular opinions of the day. I'm dropping the link right now in our chat for how you guys can tune into that. It does cost a little bit of money, but you can get $5 off the registration fee if you use my name as a code. Just Isabel, all caps. You can get $5 off the registration fee. Again, dropping the link right now in our chat for you guys to tune in, because we'd love to see all of you guys there. How to Find Peace in Political Times. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern, and I think I'm going first, so have no fear. You don't have to wait through a bunch of people talking. If you just wanted to hear me talk about it, it's going to be a really interesting, fun conversation, and I hope that you guys are able to tune in. Let's do like 5 more questions, because I think that'll be really a good place to stop. Ace, what's your thoughts on Rachel Zegler's comments on Snow White? She has absolutely no idea what she's talking about. Clearly, this girl has never even seen Snow White, because she knows nothing about the storyline. I don't know what they are going to be doing with this movie to so dramatically alter it that they couldn't possibly have the prince rescue the princess. Like, what's she gonna do? Just stay asleep forever? I have absolutely no idea. The 7 dwarves are not the 7 dwarves anymore. They're like the 7 multiracial gender identity people now. So I have no idea what to expect. I'm probably not gonna watch it, if we're being totally honest with ourselves. However, I will say this. I don't really care about Snow White. It was never one of my favorite movies. If Disney destroys the live action remake of both Tangled and Hercules, I will riot. I will be so unbelievably angry. Hercules is arguably the most underrated animated film of all time. It is so good, up there with Emperor's New Groove. And I would love to see them make a live action of Emperor's New Groove too, but their priorities don't really seem to be in line over there at Disney these days. If they ruin those movies, I will personally drive 3 hours to Disney World and riot. I'm just going to say that up front. Will I see Snow White? Probably not. I don't really have an interest in going to see it, but depends on how bad it truly is. We might have to go watch it like watching Roadkill or watching a dumpster fire that you just can't peel your eyes away from. Todd wants to know, what's your opinion on video games? I think it depends on the video game, ultimately. It's kind of like my answer for Halloween. Some video games are awesome. Some video games are really terrible. My fiance just slammed the door on my dog. Wow, that's unfortunate. Bye, Livy. I just started playing like my first actual console video game in a really long time, Hogwarts Legacy, in the fall. I still haven't finished because I don't have enough time to play it, but I absolutely love it. It's been so fun, and hopefully I get to finish it very soon. I think it just depends on the game, ultimately. Most of the time, I think video games are really misunderstood, kind of like anime. People assume that they're nothing but this horrible time suck and they destroy your life and they rot your brain. Sure, that could be true, but like any hobby, video games are a great way for people to connect with one another, for you to spend quality time with your friends and your family, to have a mental escape from all of the insane crap that we are dealing with every single day in real life culture, and can be really, really fun. Just a great way to spend time with the people that you love. So it depends on the game. Mountain Lover wants to know, favorite outdoor clothing brand. I keep wavering because I used to have several favorites and now I don't really want to support them as a company anymore, to be honest with you. Shoes, Chaco, 1000%, obviously. But I think generally speaking, favorite outdoor clothing brand right now would be Cotopaxi. I really like all of their recycled clothing and backpacks and stuff. They do a really great job, and their products are just really fun and colorful and cute, and I absolutely love it. Caleb, have you watched Lionel Messi and Inter Miami? Duh! And we really want to go to a game in real life. It's basically impossible to get to one, though, because it's like $800 to go to one of these games at this moment in time. So we're waiting until it's a little bit more affordable, and Miami is building our new soccer stadium right now, so I'm very excited about hopefully getting to go to a game there very soon. But it's been very cool to see soccer take on a whole new realm of a fandom and excitement in America. You guys might know my fiance played Division I soccer in college and is a massive soccer/football fan, depending on where you're from. So we have loved seeing Messi come to Miami. Everybody is super excited about it in the city that we live, and America in general is just on fire for soccer, like nothing I've ever seen in our lifetime. So very fun, and I hope that it's going to keep growing and get a new opportunity for a new fan base of sports in America. Okay, I saw one, but I can't remember where it went. No! Hang on, I'll find it. Guys, I can't remember where this question went. Nitty witty. We'll end with your question because I can't find the other one. Do you think there is a slow and steady return to Catholicism in many places in the world? I do. And actually, just statistically, that is supported by evidence. Catholics are seeing this massive resurgence, particularly with Gen Z in America today, which is really interesting. Whether you're excited by that or not, I think it's an interesting opportunity for all of us to just take a step back and ask why. I'm of the opinion and the belief that Gen Z is really gravitating towards tradition and structure in every single aspect of culture. We're throwing away our dating apps. We're deleting them. We don't want anything to do with hookup culture right now. We are drinking less alcohol than previous generations by a massive proportion. I just made a reel about that on Instagram today. We've obviously talked about that on the stream. We work out more than other generations. Like, we are looking for structure and discipline, probably because our world is so void of structure and discipline and lacks any sort of adherence to tradition, and is constantly just trying to be progressive for the sake of being progressive. Catholicism, as a denomination of Christianity and as the original Christian church, is the epitome of tradition with a capital T. It is bringing tradition through the last 2,000 years of human history and trying to adhere as close as humanly possible to what worshiping Jesus would have looked like with the early apostles and while he was here on earth. And so Gen Z statistically is the generation most likely to favor and seek out the Latin Mass for how we worship God. We are converting to Catholicism in really exciting new resurgence rates, and attendance at Mass is very, very high statistically for people aged 26 and younger right now. So I think we are just seeking something to hold on to and seeking tradition to adhere to in our constantly changing, constantly progressive, for the sake of being progressive world. And I love that a lot of that answer has been provided in religion and in church, because that's the most important way that we could possibly bring tradition back into society. Okay, you guys, I love you so, so very much. Thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget, as we are leaving the stream, to smash that follow or subscribe button on whatever platform you are watching on. I hope you enjoyed our Q&A today. And just as a reminder, every single day after the stream, we do a more open forum hangout Q&A just like this on Locals every day. And we would love to see you join us over there tomorrow and every day after that. I'll drop the link right now in our chat for how you guys can join our Locals community. But generally speaking, it's kind of like social media for people who hate social media. You guys get to post in there. You get to know each other quite well. And I obviously get to know you guys quite a bit better than I do on the stream over on Locals every single day. We've got some content that only exists over there and lots of fun plans for some meetups in the future just for our Locals community. So if you liked this style of content, join us over on Locals for a Q&A after every single stream. And don't forget, tonight I'm speaking for that webinar about how to find peace in very turbulent political times from a religious perspective. Use my name, Isabel, all caps, as a code for some money off to make sure that you guys can tune into that. And excited to hopefully see you over there. Love you guys so much. I'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern back for the stream. And I hope you have a great Wednesday night.